Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm just coming on a few minutes early because some people are here. Thank you. And I just thought you can make sure that I sound okay. So there's a chat over to the right if you're on your desktop computer. If you're on a phone, it may look different. But if you wouldn't mind a chat that you say in the chat that you can hear me, that would be great. Yay, thank you. So I see Rachel, Haley, Alana, Tammy, Howard, Marnie, Karen, Ruth, Sherry. Thank you so much. This is also a new software for me, so fingers crossed. I switched to this one because I hoped it would be better. Great. Hi, everyone. Hi, Allison, Bethenny, Cecilia. I wonder if that's my Bethenny. Dixie. That's a cute name. Jolynn can hear me on the phone. That's great. Hi, Andrea. Hi, Carol. Great. So exciting. I feel like I look a little fuzzy, but maybe it's because I am away from the camera. 2 Carols in a row. So let me tell you a little bit about the format of this. Okay, Debbie's on an iPad. Great. I'm so happy to hear this is working everywhere. I actually hate researching, and I researched this software a lot because I wanted it to work. So that's really good news. I will say that it may work better if you close other tabs, turn off other things, because it is a live stream video. So there's, it's asking a lot of your internet connection. So if you close some things down, it may be less glitchy. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Charlene. Linda, that's great. So exciting, you guys. Thanks for being active in the chat, too. Oh, you're getting motion sickness from the fan. Okay. Well, I'm in Arizona. It's 100 degrees. So is that better if I cut the fan off? I think it's mostly cut off. Okay, you're just teasing me. Hi, Crystal from Virginia. Great. So I have 250 spots open in this webinar, and there's 93 attending, which is great. So there may be, I think we'll be okay if we're going to keep it up at this rate, but there's a chance I might need to pause and adjust the ability. Wendy's in Arizona where it's still hot too. Wendy, I feel like it's finally starting to cool off though, which makes me really super happy. So yeah, some people have already said that where they live. If you wouldn't mind to say where you live, we can kind of get to know each other. Actually, these chats can be a ton of fun. Okay, and it's 5 o'clock on the nose. So I'm going to start in a minute here. Someone from New Zealand. How great. Pennsylvania, Australia, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Florida, Nashville. It's going fast for me. New Mexico, Bay Area, Mexico, Nebraska. Oh, I get a couple from New Mexico. Hi, Allison. I know you. Playa del Carmen, Mexico. How great. Wyoming, Colorado. Wow, we've got a few people from Mexico, some from Canada. Gold Coast. Oh, I wonder if that's who I talked to before from the... Oh, Sophia. Thank you. Hi, Mickey. It's nice to see some familiar faces and know some people are... I'm going to call on some of you guys later because I need some commentary from some people who know me. All right, awesome. I'm going to start the slides. So you are in the right place if you're here for the Toxin Hormone Connection webinar. And again, I'm your host, Bridgit Danner. Some of you know me pretty well, but I want to start first just with a thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm getting I think I'm a little emotional today. It really means a lot to me to just have you interested in this topic. I think it's a really important topic. So I'm just thankful you're here. I talked about this a little bit already, but I would suggest you close other tabs, 1 for your internet connection, and 2 just to get focused because I'm going to go pretty deep into some material here, and it's important stuff. So I just want you to be fully present for it. And I would love for you to stay to the end, as you probably saw that I have a special bonus for people who attend the webinar. I appreciate you taking the time, and I want to give something back to you. So I won't really, I may have mentioned this, I won't really take questions per se as we go. You're welcome to type stuff in the chat to each other, but I won't really be answering questions. I will be asking you some questions though, just to participate and keep you moving on here. So who is this webinar for? I would say this webinar is for people who are tired of being sick and tired. And pretty much all of the people in our community have tried a lot of things and still are having symptoms. So you're already trying to be healthy, trying to do the right things, eating right, and just things aren't changing as much as they'd like. And you may be wondering if toxins are at play in your case. You might be concerned about toxins in general, and you want answers. You don't want to give up on feeling well. I would say lastly, kind of people who are a good fit for this webinar, people who like to learn, because there's always more to learn in any case, and I'll tell you about my case soon. There's always room to learn more. If there's things, you're not on this earth to feel sickly. So if something isn't adding up, there's always an answer. I wanted to, before we move on, I wanted to mention that my name is Bridgit Danner, and my website is bridgitdanner.com and Hormone Detox Shop. And I have been an environmentalist since I was a child, which is a weird thing to say, but I think everybody has their calling. Some people are gymnasts. If you look at me in real life, I look like I should be one. But I was concerned about these issues from a young age. That's actually why I got into natural medicine. And then I sort of went the path of learning how to treat frozen shoulder and treat infertility. And I sort of forgot about the environmental piece to some extent until it hit me pretty hard later. And I'll tell that story in a bit. So some of the symptoms you may be experiencing are trouble sleeping, low energy, either all day or certain times of the day, bloated and can't digest, issues with your mood, maybe anxiety, maybe depression, can't lose weight, having different hormonal symptoms from heavy periods to difficult menopause. So who this webinar is not for, let's be honest here, is if you just want to come on and say, oh, I already know all that. You don't know, and no one can help me. Again, there's always an answer. And a lot of what solves these chronic cases, difficult cases, is just your persistence in learning more and trying new things. All right, we're going to dive in here. This is our first big slide. So last week, I found out some news that was pretty intense, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So this woman is named Yasmina. She was a colleague of mine in the health space. She had a website called Healing Histamine. But before that, she was a journalist, and she worked with like CNN and all the big news outlets. She's pretty much of a badass. She's gorgeous and like 6 feet tall. And she was in these war zones reporting on, things going on in the Middle East. And she, maybe, I don't know how long it was, maybe within a year, was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she was a health person, so she did everything to learn about it. She was going to treatments in Europe. She was doing lots of things to heal herself. But she passed away this month at the age of 43. And one thing that she told me, and I wish I knew more details on this, was that while she was in this war zone, she was exposed to a chemical. I don't know which one it was. I wish I knew the details, but she said she had it, and so did some of her colleagues who were with her at this time of her life. And she wasn't the only one who developed this aggressive breast cancer. And, I just wanted to share this story because we're not going to focus on cancer today per se, but just to say, sometimes we just need to stop and realize what's going on in our culture. We're all just caught up in this new way of life that we're living. It's so fast paced and so many, new inventions. But just to kind of pause and say, is this happening? Should this be happening? And is there a way to prevent this? Is there a way to kind of reverse some things and change our awareness so, we're not living in a world where, these wonderful women who are, have so much to give are dying at 43. And really toxin exposure is a big part. So, let me give you a few more statistics. 37% of women will develop cancer. 25% of adults over 65 have diabetes. Diabetes is costing us here in the US $327 billion a year and rising. There are about 85,000 registered chemicals in the US. In the year 2012, the EPA reported nearly 6 million pounds of pesticides used worldwide. A very groundbreaking environmental working group study found 287 chemicals in the cord blood of 10 newborns sampled. So we're literally born toxic nowadays. Not just a little toxic, like a lot toxic. And it's pretty scary. And I think that many of us don't understand the impact. Even us who are in the healthcare world, many people are talking about food, which is important, but the understanding of the bigger picture, that the fishbowl we're living in is changing, and we need to be aware of that. So I have a hard time thinking about cancer and diabetes, unless it's something you're living close to, you don't generally think about it. But the good news is that as we work on symptoms that we're dealing with every day, we actually are preventing these diseases. Because when we remove toxins, when we try to balance our blood sugar, we're actually preventing these. So the symptoms, we talked about earlier, just feeling tired, feeling like you can't lose weight, you can't think clearly, you can't remember like you used to, and you feel older than your years, that's pretty common. So motivating yourself to work on that now and not normalizing that, because it's not normal, is what's going to keep you healthy for the long term. And the bigger thing is it's like making an impact in our whole world, right? So when we as women and consumers say, I don't want any more of these chemicals on my food or whatnot, like we're making a change. And we already see that change happening in the world. I know I talked to Allison in New Zealand a couple of months ago, and she said that they're really actually they're very environmentally conscious about recycling and a lot of things. But she mentioned that like cleaning supplies, they were still using toxic stuff. So sometimes in some areas we're getting the message, and then other areas we still have more to learn. Elena's saying she in Auckland, New Zealand, where she lives, there are over 1,000 chemicals used for pest control. Wow. Yeah, that's great that you know about that. That's great. And Andrea said she was beautiful. Yeah, she was gorgeous. Yeah, so just to get us started off, I know it's kind of heavy stuff, but I think it's, it's important to just say, this is a serious topic and we can all step up. All right. So here's a little bit more about me. I don't often talk about my professional training, so I thought I would take a minute to do that. So I've been a licensed acupuncturist since 2004. I have a master's in Chinese medicine. I worked for myself in the beginning, and then I led a team of about 10 staff in an integrated health center. So I had a chiropractor, naturopath, massage therapist, other acupuncturists working for me. One second. I also have a puppy. So, but a little bit more about my story. After I had my son, I became sick. I was very anxious. I couldn't sleep. I was stressed out really easily. Some of that might have been my life circumstances, but some was definitely my hormones. And I started to learn more about nutrition and functional medicine and coaching, and just got really excited about those tools. But to be honest, like I was getting better, but I would still swing back to not being totally well. So I'll talk more about that in a minute. A few more things about me. I've authored 2 fertility books. I've had 2 different podcasts, one on women's health, one on fertility. I've hosted 5 health summits. So I'd love for take a moment in the chat, if you met me through being my client, write client in the chat. If you met me through my podcast, write podcast in the chat. And if you met me through a summit, write some in the chat. I know you might not remember because a lot of people are like, I don't know, I found you on the internet. I get it. But a lot of people said summit. Bethenny is our client. Annie said podcast. Oh, awesome. Somebody was my acupuncture client in New Mexico. That's amazing. I'd love to hear who that was. I didn't see who that was. So lots of summits, some question marks. Awesome. You clients, I'm going to call on you guys later. Client at baby camp. Oh yeah, I did a thing for fertility sometimes. I love it when people are still sticking by me as I kind of morph and change what I do a little bit over time. So here's a little bit more about my health. This is my husband in a hazmat suit when we were cleaning out our moldy house. And yeah, in my early days of learning about functional medicine, I knew I had adrenal fatigue, some hormone dysregulation. I found out I had Epstein-Barr virus later on. I had pink eye when I was a new mom. And I've definitely had a lot of gut stuff. I think the gut is just a weak area for me. And I've had parasites, which I've shared about. But a big one for me was learning that we lived in a home with toxic mold. And we had lived in that home 8 or 9 years before we found it out. So I feel like I'm in the embodiment of what I'm going to talk about today, which is we can do a lot for our health and our hormones. But if we're missing something with toxins, it's just never going to work. And I used to beat myself up about, maybe I don't handle stress well enough. That must be the missing thing. And certainly stress is super important. But there's this invisible thing, right, that's happening. And it's different for all of us. As someone in New Zealand was saying, the pesticides in their water. And some people are on well water that has heavy metals and they don't know it. And some people are using tons of toxic body products. So there's just lots of ways that we can become toxic. Unfortunately, in this world, no one really escapes it. Some are going to do better than others, either because of where they live or because their genetics are strong for managing toxins. My genetics, I don't think, are very strong at managing toxins. So that's a little bit about my health history. This is getting a little deep again, but I just turned 44, and that's a birthday my friend didn't hit. So I just need to be thankful that I'm here, even though I'm not fully better yet. It takes a while to detox. It's kind of a life's work when we live in a toxic world. But I'm thankful, but it was definitely a really hard time for me. I was so down to the bone tired that I didn't want to wake up in the morning, which was kind of scary. And some of you may have gone through something just like that. Andrea says she's got all the things too. Hypothyroid, adrenal. Yeah, I have Hashimoto's too, by the way, but pretty well managed. So I could talk more about that later. So here's a few of our clients. Some of them I hope are on here. Here's Jacqueline. She's a health coach. Jacqueline was super healthy. Jacqueline ate better than me. Everything was from scratch, ate really, really well. She worked on her digestion with us, but then she found out she had mercury poisoning from her fillings. So she's working on that now. And I think it caused a spike in estrogen for her because heavy metals can be what they call metalloestrogens. They can act like estrogens in the body. So again, we have 22% practitioners on our community. So lots of people who know lots of stuff, but there's always more to learn. And this is Teresa. She's similar. I think her title is nutritionist. She's super knowledgeable, super, healthy, but found out she had a lot of toxins coming up from her gut because we also make toxins internally when we have things like parasites and viruses. Okay, so here's some of the things we'll cover today. Just some of the ways that toxins interfere with hormones. That's our main focus of the webinar, right? And then we'll get into some of the ways to clear them in the home and in the body, and how you can learn more with me on this topic. So there's some little technical terms around what's a toxin and what's a toxicant, and there's different, terminology, but I will just say that toxins are substances in our body that can cause harm. They can either target certain cells, certain organs, or our whole system. They can be made by nature, like with mold or with viruses, or they can be made by man with chemicals, and they can also be kind of dug out of the earth when we're getting heavy metals out of the earth through the things we do, and then we're just exposing these things to us in a way that we wouldn't normally be exposed to. They can definitely affect our DNA replication, our DNA function, which is pretty scary. And they can deplete glutathione, which you may have heard of, which is a really important antioxidant in the body. So I kind of say toxins are things that aren't supposed to be there. So when you have something in the system that isn't supposed to be there, by nature, the body won't function correctly. The signaling will be off. There'll be interference. Toxins also work synergistically, and that means like having multiple toxins in you is worse than having one. I didn't say that right, but they work together. So it's not like a 1 + 1 = 2 in your body. It's like 1 + 1 = 3, except in the case of how many toxins are in us, it's probably more like, 50 + 300 = 1,000. So that's not good news. Sometimes it's because they're overlapping on what they do, whether it's like decreasing enzyme function or blocking receptor sites. But yeah, they sort of, the more we have, it becomes just toxic load. And that's a pretty important thing to honor and know about and work on. So the more toxins we have, the more it, burdens our body systems, our kidneys, our liver. This is why sometimes things are coming out in our skin, right? Because our organs can't keep up with the load. It's also why we gain weight, because we can't keep up with the load, and toxins can be stored in the fat. They can be stored in the bones. So they, the body can only do so much. So some question we get sometimes is like, well, isn't the body supposed to detox itself? 100%, it is supposed to detox itself, but it wasn't designed for this. So, it's a tough job that we're asking the body. Oops, did I skip one? Okay, so I'm going to get into some specific examples here, and we'll start out with the thyroid. So if you wouldn't mind writing in the chat, if you suspect or know you have a thyroid problem, write thyroid in the chat. It's good practice because you gets you spelling the word thyroid, which I always feel like is a little tricky. Yeah, we see some thyroids. It's super common, right? Why is it so on the rise? It's a good question. The main theory of autoimmunity, which is the biggest cause of thyroid disorders, is leaky gut plus a vector, they say. So the vector can be things like viruses or certainly toxins. We have quite a few here showing up. So thyroid can cause low energy and weight gain, foggy thinking, and it gets blamed for a lot of things, which is kind of fair, but I actually think that the thyroid needs to kind of share the blame with just toxins in general and mitochondrial dysfunction that we'll talk about in a minute. So arsenic is a heavy metal. Just as a side note, it's found mostly in water, rice, and chicken, and in the food supply, but also can be in other products as well. So that disrupts okay, so you got a cell, right? Every cell, most cells have a receptor to receive thyroid hormone, and arsenic in the system will disrupt that receptor site. So even if you have thyroid hormone, it's not getting in the cell. Someone said on the chat, well, my labs look normal. This could be a reason why, right? You have thyroid hormone, it's just not getting in your cell. The communication isn't happening. Arsenic, we'll keep picking on arsenic. It also triggers Epstein-Barr virus, which is a super common co-infection and potentially a cause of Hashimoto's. And then these substances, chlorine, fluoride, and bromine, which can be found in things like pools, tap water, breads, toothpaste. They lower production of thyroid hormone by lowering TSH, which maybe you've heard of. It stimulates the thyroid gland to make thyroid hormone. It also blocks iodine receptor sites, a mineral that we need to produce thyroid hormone, and it can stimulate cancer cells. So these are just a few examples. There are a lot more, frankly, but just to give you kind of an idea of how things could be going. Let me catch up with my notes here. Okay. Let's move on to hormones. So I may have already said this, but keep in mind that hormones aren't just for young women. Everyone has hormones. Hormones do more than, make babies or make periods. They also make for a healthy sex drive. They balance our blood sugar and blood pressure. They do a lot of important functions in the body, create energy for us, certainly support our metabolism, our brain function, our mood. It's probably the most common hormone disruptor are xenoestrogens. This is chemicals that look like estrogen and kind of act like estrogen in the body, but aren't estrogen. And those are often from plastics and just different chemical compounds. Some ways that these hormone disrupting chemicals affect us is they create just a different reaction when we have inflammation. So inflammation is a good thing when needed, right? Like when we have an injury, but inflammation, when it's rampant, when it's out of control or like not the correct response at the right time, can make for chronic diseases of many types. I have a client right now who I think just has a lot of this and just gets just chronic migraines. So we're actually talking about toxins in her teeth from dental surgery she's had and that kind of a thing. So anyway, the inflammation response can be altered and the immune response can be altered as well, which I think could be another potential trigger for autoimmunity. And I mentioned earlier, just having lots of toxins can make you produce more fat tissue, and your fat tissue is an active biological tissue. It can make you more estrogen. So many women worry about being estrogen dominant. Not all of us are. Some women are estrogen dominant, but many are just low hormones from just everything being kind of depleted. So I see different things. Every case is a little bit different. Here's just a little quote I found from Wikipedia, just talking about some of the different ways that endocrine disruption could throw us off. So certainly in the womb is a big one. Most people in my community are not having kids, but some people might be on this call and thinking of having kids. It's such an important time before you go to conceive to clean up your body, give your child its best chance in life. But then later in life, men growing breasts, women growing too much hair, these are signs of hormones being off, and lots of cancers are hormone dependent, right? And let's talk about your weight. We've talked about weight a little bit, but pesticides, I'm really learning a lot about weight and toxins lately, and it's really fascinating. I think that there are a lot of people missing the mark about where their weight is coming from. So this is pretty interesting. If you think it's, sugar, maybe we could do this in the chat. Why do you think people are getting overweight? Well, I'm going to give you my opinion, but there's lots of good theories, right? We're eating too much sugar, we're eating too much processed food, we're eating, we're not getting enough sleep. All these things are really valid. But here's an interesting thing I found out. So from the year 1860 to 1960, there was a huge rise in sugar consumption. And there wasn't a corresponding rise in obesity. But from the 60s to the 90s, where it really took off, there were many more chemicals in the environment used in farming and just everywhere. And really in like the 1990s, it's like when things really like took off with diabetes. And I don't have the charts for you. I should have added them on here, but the just seeing the trajectory, like sugar went up, but diabetes didn't really go up. But then as chemicals really went up, that's when diabetes really went up. And if you think about having like diet sodas or takeout pizzas or whatever they are, yeah, it's low quality food, but what else is going on there? It's toxic food. It's things with additives, with pesticides in it. The box is often like coated in plastic, so you're consuming it. A lot of just those low quality foods, the way they're delivered is also really toxic as well. So just something to think about. And even if you are really trying to avoid these things, here's something else interesting I read. Let me skip ahead one. I don't have the full quote here, but just having BPA, which is a type of plastic you've probably heard about, having that at a certain level doubles your risk of diabetes. So this can come from just eating 2 canned goods a week. 2 a week. If you're having a can that's lined with BPA plastic, just a couple times a week, having some beans, having some soup, that can raise your BPA to such a level that it doubles your risk of diabetes. That's crazy. Now, you might be worried about diabetes in this moment. You're just worried about some extra weight you have. That's just, all on the same scale. So just something to think about. And this is from Joseph Pizzorno, who's a great naturopath and toxin researcher. And he's, we've just become to think it's so normal to eat canned food. But is it, And luckily, there are alternatives. There's cans now that are lined with like a ceramic, so it's not BPA. And they're more expensive, but just something to think about, right? So let me go back to this slide. Pesticides block insulin, which is like the hormone, again, that gets sugar into your cells. Pesticides block those receptor sites. Arsenic, we talked about earlier, impairs insulin production. So here's like kind of one of those synergistic things, right? You got 2 things working against you if they're both in your body. Phthalates are made in plastics and also in fragrance, and they're in a class of chemicals called obesogens that I don't know if you've heard of or not, but it's a pretty fascinating topic. They discovered, I don't know, it was maybe 30 some years ago about that certain chemicals change the way that we feel full or hungry, change the way that we metabolize, change the size of our fat cells, and change the amount of fat cells we make from stem cells. It's crazy. So you can be doing all the dieting you want, but if your certain biology, you're really being affected by those phthalates, how are you going to lose weight? It's impossible. So not to say that everyone who uses fragrance is overweight. Certainly, we all are kind of going through our own toxic load. We have our own, situation going on. One person may gain weight and another may be skinny and end up with breast cancer. It's just different for everybody. Yeah, the cans with diabetes, Mickey is like, whoa. Yeah, Roundup, Mike, that's going to come up later. We're going to talk about Roundup later. Covered that. And then the last I want to cover is mitochondria. Mitochondria, I'm really fascinated by lately. Mitochondria are a part of our cells. They're in every cell, and they produce energy for the cell. That's kind of a basic explanation of it. So every cell has its own job, right? Like a liver cell is doing its liver job, and a heart cell is doing its heart job. And every cell needs energy to do its job. And if those mitochondria are affected, then the body just can't do its job as well. And mitochondria are very much affected by toxins. They don't have a great protection mechanism around them, so they're just very easily damaged. And they're really worn out from working hard to remove toxins from us. One second. This is the time of day my dog wakes up and goes crazy. But if I put him out of the room, he'll cry to come back in. One second, let me open the door. Lincoln? Can you call Pintel, please? Okay, sorry about that. So This is actually a whole big lesson that I teach later on, but I just wanted to teach you a little bit about it. Most of the air we breathe is being used for these mitochondria. It's really important, and our brain is using a lot of it. So if you can't think clearly, you can't remember things, you don't feel like you're as smart as you used to be, there's probably a mitochondrial issue going on, as well as like a toxicity issue. If you feel like your muscle is just kind of disappearing, wasting away quickly, this can be a mitochondrial issue. Your muscle has a lot of mitochondria. Headaches, allergies, blood sugar, cancer, lots of things it's connected with, because it's really kind of like a core functional issue when something's off in the body. So toxins use up, again, this mitochondrial function, use up oxygen that we need for our cells to function and have energy. There's a lot of waste products being made which damage the mitochondria. So hopefully I made an impression on you that we need to detox, that we need to be concerned about toxins. I don't think you'd be here if you didn't agree with that. So my question for you at this point is, what does detox mean to you? Have you done a detox? What detox have you tried? As I started to talk more about detox, I found out that some people think that word is kind of rubbish. My friend who's a doctor and interviewed me, a lot of doctors think the word detox is kind of phony. It's nothing, it's just a fad. There's no science behind it. So that was very informative to me. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just seeing the chat. But yeah, please write in the chat what detox means to you. Then I found out from another friend who interviewed me that she thinks people think of detox as like a quick, I don't know, like a 5-day juice thing you do, or like some thing you buy on the internet that tells you can lose, 20 pounds in a month. And this was like a good for me to know, but a little disturbing because, there's a lot more to it than those kind of catchy things. And there's a lot of science to it. I'm sure there needs to be a lot more science done. It's certainly not recognized in the mainstream healthcare system. So there needs to be a lot more, but it's good to know. Let's see. Allison says she feels like it's a reset, getting junk out of your gut, staying organic and avoiding EMF and chemicals. Great. Liver cleaners. Oh, Sherry's got a good answer. Cleansing your liver, taking binders, doing parasite cleanse. That's a good one, Sherry. Water fast, fasting mimicking. Yeah, that's kind of popular right now. Michelle's done a lot of cleansed. Coffee enemas we're going to talk about later, actually, Rhonda. Clean eating, binders. Judy says, just tell us what to do. You're funny. Yeah, I mean, you guys are pretty knowledgeable, so you know a lot and you've tried a lot, which I'm not surprised to hear. And Linda mentioned you're cleaning your spirit, which I like. Yeah, I think something that's really fascinating right now is they say, they'll say, oh, well, this person's toxic. This environment's toxic. Or I'm doing a social media cleanse. I'm kind of laughing, but I like all these things because it's true. If you're in a hostile work environment, it's as toxic to you. All the, cortisol, it's driving up and all that kind of a thing. And social media, absolutely, that can drive up cortisol too and kind of create this toxicity in your body. So I kind of like the broad definition of toxicity. I think it's a good thing. The Georgia Guidestones, I never heard of that. Healthy fats. It's interesting. A lot of you guys are talking about fasting and when to not eat, which I think is important. Okay, so in my opinion, the number one thing about detox is avoidance. Because if you are just doing something short term, which can be great, you're getting some toxins out of your food, which was mentioned. Maybe you're taking some supplements or some binders, which is great. But most people think about detox as being like a short-term cleanse. And I think there's some missing of the mark. And here's why. So when you take toxins out and then you go right back to being surrounded in them, you sort of didn't get far, right? You gave your body a little break. But if you go right back to Starbucks and, the air in your home isn't clean or whatever it is, you know, their body's just having to start all over again. So I didn't get the perfect picture, but I forgot to mention someone I've studied with is Laura Adler, who's an environmental toxins expert. I've done one of her courses and I'm about to do the certification course. But she had this great, she's also hilarious. She had this great picture of a little girl throwing the water out of the pool. So that's kind of what we're doing when we do a short-term detox. Let's throw the water out of the pool. Well, we're still in the pool. The pool is full of toxins. So avoidance is the number one step. Not to say those other things don't matter, but they're certainly the number one step. Sherry says avoid water damage. Yeah, avoiding mold and water damage. Yeah, Mike's talking about population. That's a really good global question that we need to, you know, we need to think about our whole global resources. I think that's a very good point. Okay. So this is why I created this course that I'm going to be talking about for the next few minutes here. Just to learn where your toxins are coming from. And so you can avoid them and get them out of your home and then get them out of your body. So again, we have a pretty large community. Not everybody's ready for private coaching, which is fine, but I want to reach a lot of people. So I haven't done a group course in a while, but I really feel like there's the need and the timing is right. And I'm excited to offer this. I want to make a really accessible way for people to learn about this stuff. So I think Mickey is on this call. She's about to see herself. So Mickey wasn't our private client, but she's just in our community and learning about, she learned about mold. She learned about toxic mold. And she went through a similar kind of harrowing story of toxic mold as I did. And it's a lot to go through, but she's just somebody who I think has come in contact with us and learned about some causes, and she's been so proactive in her own health. So I think things can be a combination of kind of learning here and there and some local practitioners and things you do yourself. There's really none of us who only have one influential person in our health, right? We kind of have a whole community over our lifetime of people who are helping us. And so Mickey's someone that I've been happy to help over the years. So here's a little bit about our course. And it starts with that avoidance, right? And really that starts in the home. So cooking routine is what I call the first one. I think people who are eating healthy are still sometimes exposing themselves to more chemicals than they realize through their cooking routine. So we talk about that. And then we talk about foods in your pantry and avoiding ingredients that are toxic, some of which you know about, but again, some of which you may have missed. Cleaning supplies we talk about, it's kind of boring, but cleaning supplies can be super toxic, super toxic. My dad actually got a chemical burn from some cleaning products when I was a kid. Beauty routine, this is a tough one for a lot of women because they don't want to give up their favorite products, but there's always an alternative to everything, and we've got a lot of options for you. Over-the-counter medications is another area. It's really easy to replace with healthier things because over-the-counter medications often deplete you of nutrients and are toxic in their own right. And then we'll do a deep dive into glyphosate, which someone mentioned earlier, which is Roundup, and talk about where that can come from kind of without your realizing it and how to get it out of your body. We'll talk about water filtration options and what's in your water supply. And we have an essential oil green cleaning guide. And then we get into nutrition. So again, I think a lot of what I see as I go through my career is there's kind of trends in nutrition. And this is not really about that. This is about what are we targeting here? We're trying to support our body to detox. We're trying to support the production of our hormones and the clearance of old hormones. And this is just a different way to look at food. So thinking about fibers and are we getting enough and healthy sources, thinking about how much protein to get and when, and what kinds of fats are healthy, and then getting into some superfoods, so to speak. I know some people don't like that term, but I do. There's a lot of superfoods for detoxification and hormones that we'll cover. And then there's certain ways that your liver detoxes, right? Like the sulfuration pathway, and the glucuronidation pathway, so like that. So we talk about actually ways to support the different pathways of your liver and detox. So yeah, it's a very different way to look at nutrition, which I think is a really great foundation. And when you kind of plan your meals and do your shopping around these things, you're going to find that you're getting a lot healthier in your hormones. Sherry says she loves superfoods. Yeah, there's so many superfoods. There's no reason to eat a food that's nutrient deficient. You know, every now and then we do because we're just craving something, but there's so many powerful foods. Okay, next lesson 3 is about daily detox. So again, it's not just about all these recipes up on Instagram. There's a lot of things you could be missing if you're only focusing on food. And a lot of people come to me with questions in this area. Coffee enemas, someone mentioned earlier, you don't have to do them, but I tell you, that is my #1 most popular video on YouTube. People are curious and they're really powerful. So if you're sick enough, you'll try them. Saunas are something I get a lot of questions about. Timed eating is something that came up on the chat a couple times. There's circadian rhythm and knowing when to eat. I'm a big fan of dry brushing your skin. There's just a long list here. I didn't even have time to write it all down, but you know, there's a lot of things you can do just with your routine that energize you. We definitely don't just get our energy from food. We get our energy from the sun and from connection and just so many important ways. Sometimes in this field, we can get a little hyper focused on supplements and food and not see the bigger picture. And these bigger picture items, just like finding your joy, traveling, getting outside, they make a big impact on health. So you can imagine like being stuck in a cubicle with like no window and a job you hate. Is that going to affect your health? 100%. Whereas if you're on like vacation in Hawaii and you're with friends, like you're in a completely different state of health probably. So we can't always be in Hawaii every day unless we live there. But there's a lot of things we can change in our routine to find health. Wendy says coffee only goes one way. I know. I didn't think I would ever try it until I learned about it from a colleague. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. And I know Mickey does them. I didn't want to call you out, Mickey, but I know you do them too. Okay, next is on supplements. So we aren't going to go too crazy on this because I know y'all have enough supplements already. But we're going to really explain why certain B vitamins help your hormones or support detox. Why I love that boring thing called fish oil and what it does for inflammation. Why magnesium is so important. Glutathione, as we mentioned earlier, we'll talk about. Binders came up in the chat. We'll talk about that. And then we'll get into some options for gut healing and gut infections. So if you have a drawer that looks like this, you probably need this course because I get so many clients that come to me and they have a long list of supplements and they can't even remember why they're on some of them. Oh, I think this one's for my nails. Oh, I think someone told me to take this like 5 years ago. You know, it's a lot and it's expensive and it's kind of overload your body. So we're going to kind of get simple and get focused. Okay. Let's see. And then we got a last lesson on essential oils, which I think are so important for replacing the toxic things in your home, helping you just get through the day with like sleep and mood. They can help you with food cravings. They can definitely help rebalance your hormones. So we're going to have my friend who's a published essential oils author, Marisa Snyder, come in to talk about essential oils. So that's a lot of fun. We've got a couple guides for you around hormones and cleaning with essential oils. And then there's a bonus lesson that's already recorded on mitochondria. So we talked about this a little bit. Sounds like some of you guys are familiar, but it's a bigger conversation. So I go a lot deeper into specific things you can do to support your mitochondria. Hey, Mike, I'm going to have to ask you to cool it on the chat because they're kind of off topic. So just let's stay on the topic and stay respectful of everybody in the group. Okay. So bonuses for being on the webinar. Thank you for staying so long. There's 164 people on right now, and you 164 qualifying for this. So this course is mostly a do-it-yourself course for detoxing, but people are very curious about labs. And as you take this course, you might be wondering, what specifically do I have going on? So do I have heavy metals in my system? Are my teeth a problem? What are my hormones doing? Is my estrogen high? Do I have mold? And we have tests for all these things. So we'll just go over all of them in a nice, like, comfortable setting so that you can understand them better, and the costs and the options. So that's your bonus. So if you decide to do the course, that'll be a bonus that you get. I think we'll do that like week 6. So we'll do that live. So you can ask me questions as well. There's tons of stuff in this course. There's tons of bonuses. These are some of them: a breakfast guide, green cleaning guide, nutrition guide. And then this lovely lady is Wendy Myers, and we've got an interview with her on hormones and heavy metals. And so this is a live course, right? You're getting me fully. I'm on a Facebook with you. I'm giving the lessons to you live around the same time of day. And if you can't make it, it's recorded, of course. If you guys know, this is what I wanted to call me. If you know me from summits or from my clients, I got a lot of content. There's going to be no shortage of information at all. Really, it's just a matter of being present and trying some new things, learning some new things. If you apply just a few things that move the needle on your health, that's all you needed, right? I just took last year a very expensive business coaching course. I won't even tell you how much it cost me. And really, I can probably boil it down to 3 things I got out of it. But they were 3 big things that I needed, that I didn't even know I needed, right? I didn't know I needed them till I found them. And we actually have a guarantee on this course, 14-day. Like, if you find, I just don't think it's possible, you'll feel you already know everything, because we're going to go pretty deep, and we're going to, again, you just need to find a few things to change in your habits, to change in your home, that you can take with you. So it doesn't have to be that you learn a million things. So I just want this course to be accessible. So here's what it costs. It costs $97. I basically am trying to make a price point that you don't even have to think about it. We have clients who are making minimum wage who work with us, and that's a big sacrifice to work with us privately on that income. But this shouldn't be a sacrifice. We have clients on disability. We have clients who aren't working right now because of their health. So I just want to make this accessible. And this is an amazing value, you guys. It might not always stay this way, but this is the first time around. I'm just offering it to my community. So yeah, I hope that makes it an easy decision for you. Screen is dark. Oh, I guess it sounds like you might have to refresh your page. Somebody asked, do we have hormone testing to get a baseline? Yep, we offer the Dutch test privately. It's not part of this course because this is like a little learning course, but we do actually offer a discount on our private coaching when you're part of this course. Yes, this is American currency. Thank you. That's a good question. I think it'll just translate to your currency when you pay with your own credit card if you're out of the country. So again, you don't need to be in the US. You don't need to have a lot of time on your hands. You don't need to have a lot of money on your hands. If you don't, minimum, I would say put in an hour every week, but you can easily go down the rabbit hole and spend more time on it. You can, we'll have links to additional resources and that kind of thing. Yeah, offline on hormone. Yeah, so I want to get a little bit in the weeds, but yeah, because this is not really a course for testing. But again, if you take the course, which is $97, we'll do a whole private thing on labs and the benefits of labs and how they work. And yeah, we have more information on labs on our main website. So I guess my main takeaways here are, let me get back to. If this is something you're familiar with, you've tried a lot of things and things aren't working, still have symptoms, but you want more, you shouldn't feel this way. You shouldn't be tired and you shouldn't be sick. If you're wondering if toxins are affecting you, if you feel like you don't know enough about toxins, even if you're a practitioner, we welcome you. Like, there's nobody we don't want in, we kind of meet you where you're at, right? So you might just be starting out and making some changes in your home, or you might be a practitioner who's learning some higher level ways to look at toxins. So I think there's a place for everyone here. And again, some of the symptoms you might be feeling are poor sleep, low energy, bloating, mood. Yeah, hormone imbalance. Thanks, Patty. Yeah, I really wanted to make it like a irresistible offer for you to get a lot of information at a price you don't have to really worry about. So I would ask you to think about your why. Why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to feel better? This is my why. This is my family. And I don't always have the energy to do things I want with them, for traveling and for weekends. But I'm working on it. I keep working on my health, and it's certainly better and better all the time because of the investment I put in. And these are the people I want to show up for in my life. And then my other why, frankly, is you guys. I think this is really my mission in life, to be presenting this information in community and supporting you. So that's why I'm here. But everyone has a different why. You're welcome to share it in the chat. Oh, thanks, guys. You guys are so cute. Yeah, just if you want to share, it's honestly really empowering to say, why you want to be healthy, what you want to get back to. And usually it's just we want to show up to our life fully, and whatever that is, whether it's for our kids or our hobbies or our work or whatever it is, that's what we want to show up for. So yeah, let me move on here. So I will share a link here to the page where you can check it out. And it's available at bridgitdanner.com. It's a pretty short open period. It's only open till September 29th. And that's Saturday. So if it's something you want, I would say just grab it, so you don't have to be like waiting till Saturday and, I forgot to do it. Just go ahead and do it. It's going to be a ton of fun, or, it's going to be really supportive. Yeah. Somebody said, it's a sales pitch. I give a lot of free content away, guys. I just finished 195 podcast episodes, but this is different. To be able to ask me questions in person is valuable. This is information I'm going deep on that I don't do this anywhere else. My new client appointment is $500. So a $100 course where you get me privately, I would argue is valuable. And I want you in here. So I appreciate your time. Any other questions about anything? Debbie, yeah, there's a sign up link in the chat right now. And it'll also be on bridgitdanner.com. Thank you, Mickey. Andrea's learned how to use the emojis, which I really like. You're always giving cute little emojis in the chat. So yeah, this is here in the chat. You can just click through. You can go to the site, and I know some people came late, so we'll have we'll send the replay and we'll send the link there as well. We're also sending out a cheat sheet of everything that we covered today. I think especially for you health nerds who want to really understand the mechanisms of how hormones and toxins connect, which is the theme of the talk, you'll have that all written out. So if some of the things you thought were interesting about arsenic or BPA, and you want some of those quotes to have, we'll be sending you a handout as well that sums up everything that we talked about here today. Thank you, Marla. Thanks, Julie. Yeah, we'll be doing some essential oils in the course. I just think they're just a part of that non-toxic detox picture. Marnie asked, how can we write directly? Yeah, so you can go to here, I'll put my email address in here. If you have specific questions, you can write it in there. And yeah, any other questions? Thanks, Allison. Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Heather. Marnie figured out how to use the emojis too. I love it. Thanks to Wendy. Hi, Crystal. I wonder if that's a Crystal I know. Thank you, Marnie. I really appreciate that. Hi, Bethenny. Yeah. Thanks to everybody who attended. Again, you can use the button right here to check out the course more. And I'll just take a couple last, gosh, we're going so right on time. Any last questions about anything? If you have a specific case or symptom you're wondering about, if it could support, or a specific toxin question you're wondering about, you can write it down here. I was expecting more of those. Yeah, we will send an email link, Julie, to follow up. But do we talk about reverse T3? That I would say the kind of thing that you would ask me about on a Q&A, because as you saw from the lessons, like there isn't like a thyroid lesson. But reverse T3, just kind of a side note, usually that's high when there's some stress in the body. So the body's trying to slow itself down by kind of binding up some thyroid hormone. So the thyroid, again, kind of gets its blamed a lot, but the thyroid is just trying to manage what we're dealing with. So the body's under stress. Sometimes the reverse T3 goes high to just kind of slow you down because it's processing so much. Okay, so somebody was saying that glyphosate might have been the thing that raised their reverse T3. Yeah, so luckily for you, we're doing a big thing on glyphosate. So yeah, air purifiers is something we'll cover a little bit. Although to be honest, I'll get into the details more on the course, but we'll cover air purifiers if people want to that. But we'll definitely cover water filtration, which I think is a little, I don't know, a topic that's a little clearer. I think the air filter, I have some opinions on that, but I think it's still there's. I don't want to go into the weeds here, but yeah, we'll cover air purifiers as well. Some of these areas are a little tricky, right? But if there's a demand and people are like, I want to know about air purifiers, or what, do you like this brand, or do you like this brand? I can get into all that. Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. Again, let's see, products you can buy. Yes, I don't really make that much product myself, to be honest, with cleaning products and beauty products. I make some, but probably like you, I'm kind of busy. So I'm totally fine to go into brands on the course. Cleaning supplies, beauty supplies, air purifier brands, water purifier brands, because it's kind of often the specific questions you have. So yeah, we can get into all that on the course. The discount for private coaching, I haven't entirely decided yet because of some changes in our private coaching, but it'll be generous, to be honest. It'll be more than the price of this course. So mold we'll talk about a little bit. We have a lot of resources on that available already. That's a big topic that could probably be 10 hours of lecturing on its own. So I don't focus too much on the mold removal part. But I would say that what we do for the body detox, it will be very supportive for the mold question. And then I can refer you, again, like whatever we teach in this course, I can refer you out to 10 more things. So if we don't cover mold removal on the course, because not everyone needs that, I can just refer you to an interview I already did on mold removal. Will the course help to understand how to prioritize in order for testing different things? Yeah, I think we can cover that on the bonus lesson on testing. Sure, if I understand your correct question well. We'll also do a quiz. We'll do some like quizzes on symptoms and exposures. So I think that that can also be a good way to understand what you might be dealing with, right? So we aren't all dealing with the same toxins. We all might not need to test the same thing. Sorry, that light was really bright. It's getting dark out here. So yeah, I think that some things might just become clear to you as you work through the material. Yeah, I would say, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but there is an outline of the course on this page where it says join Detox Your Hormone. Don't, if you click that button, you won't like buy it right away. It just tells you more about the course. So I would just go to that button. It's a very long page to like answer a lot of questions. And then if you still have more questions, you can go through our website and email us as well. Koyo. Okay. Hi, Koyo. Do you give homework? Asked Mickey. What a good student. Kind of yes and no. I don't want to stress people out who feel like putting in the time is hard for them. So I want to sort of give options for people who want to take them. And if people don't want to take too much, I think the homework will kind of come up on its own, right? So if you realize you're not filtering your water, and we have a big talk about water purification, it's probably going to motivate you. If we talk about cooking and with plastic utensils and plastic containers, you realize you have a lot of that, it's probably going to motivate you to go change those things. I am going to do some prizes. So I'm going to do some prizes for like people who I know like watched the video or made a change. So we'll do some fun things just to motivate. But again, I want to kind of walk the line of like, I can overdo it. I'm heavy on the education. So I want people to kind of pick and choose how far they go with it. And everybody's going to be different. And some people are really going to work on their home. And some people have that pretty well dialed in and they're really going to be working on their body. So it's kind of a choose your own adventure situation. And I just would say read over the page for the program and, just see if some of those topics sound right to you. Because I can't detail out every little tiny thing we'll talk about, but there'll be a lot in there. And I think people will respond to different aspects of it. Yes, we have a special Facebook group for the course, a private group just for people in the course. Julie, yes, we'll post a replay. And I think that's all the questions. Yeah, so if say you have a job or a schedule that you may not be able to attend live, there'll be a Facebook group where you can ask questions. You can even ask me questions ahead of time so that you get to hear my answer on the recording. Okay, thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. Have a great night.